be looking at pitching your ideas for a new venture to potential investors and partners. Our guest mentor for tonight is Gary McKenzie. Gary has been a friend and a mentor for the Founders Institute from its very inception. He's a senior administrator in the Department of Student Support at the University College of the Commonwealth, UCC as commonly referred, who is actually one of the partners of the Founders Institute Jamaica. And he's also a young faculty member there. But most importantly, Gary is an expert pitch coach. So Gary will be making a presentation and pitching your ideas for investment. And then I'll follow Gary to make a presentation on Founders Institute Jamaica chapter, and they will entertain a couple of pitches. So you'll pitch your ideas, and then Gary and I will give you some critique as to your pitch until where you can improve it and how you should improve it. So I'm Wayne Beecher. I'm one of the local leaders for Founders Institute Jamaica. And I'm also the founder and CEO for Alt Catalyst Venture Studio, which is a startup factory to support the development of high impact and high performance ventures that has the ability to scale to the world. And my mission is to create $1 billion company coming out of Jamaica. On the line with us, I'm going to ask other local leaders to introduce themselves before we get into Gary's presentation. So Tenille is one of the local leader. Michael is actually our chief orchestrator here. Michael Gordon, I don't know if he's able to put on his camera just to wave to the participants.
Yeah. Good night, guys.
Hey, thanks, Michael. And off camera, we have Tanelia Fedis, who is operating remotely this afternoon. She's normally the one hosting and sharing these events. The purpose of these webinars is to just raise the level of consciousness and entrepreneurial insights into how you go about creating a high performance business. At the Founders Institute, we run an accelerator program, incubator accelerator program every year, and we're gearing up for a new cohort that will start in June of this year. And so this is part of our teaser effort to bring awareness to the kind of entrepreneurship we're trying to inspire in Jamaica, and to create an impact in our world. Without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing and ask Gary to share his screen and to proceed into his presentation as he takes us through the elements of creating a world-class pitch. Gary, over to you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Beecher himself, the man that intends to make a Jamaica $1 billion company, homegrown Jamaican $1 billion company. I am excited about that idea, and I am excited about being a part of this growth that is taking place in entrepreneurship in Jamaica. Gary McKenzie is the name, as was said before. This is the face that goes with the name. Thank you very much for joining, and welcome. I'm not sure if persons can indicate in the chat where they're joining from. Two things I want you to indicate. Where you're joining from, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, wherever you're joining from, just indicate in the chat where you're joining from, and indicate if you yourself are an entrepreneur or a founder of a business venture. So, we've been introduced. We want to know you as well so we can have dialogue. It's not a talk shop. We're not just talking to you, but we're talking to each other. I see founders from St. Anne, St. Thomas. Someone is here from Vancouver. Select Afimi Snacks Limited in Kingston. What's interesting? Every single day that the Lord sends, I speak the dialect of Jamaican patois, but ask me to read it, totally different story. So we have people from Vancouver, from Kingston, from St. Thomas, St. Catherine, and persons already asking questions. Founders and startups from Kingston. We have consultants joining from Haiti. Welcome. I don't know how to say that in the Asian dialect or in French. So I just say it in English. Welcome. Welcome wherever you're joining us from. Welcome. So I'm intending for us to have a dialogue about securing investment for your business from the perspective of what to include in a pitch. Um, I'm not going to really try to pronounce those French words. So when we get to the Q&A section, we'll allow you to do all of that. Persons from Akampong are here as well. So as I was saying, and as the slide suggests, the slide on screen now suggests, we're looking at pitching to secure funding. So Sir Beecher would have shared with you that I am adjunct faculty. I do teach here presentation skills and business communication. This is where we help persons to be more effective at communicating their ideas in a business environment. And here's the thing. I found in my life, and I've observed in students, in my children, in my family members, in the community at large, I observe that the persons who are able to push forward, the persons who are able to get to their intended goals, are persons like Sir Beecher that can articulate their goals. It's about the ability to share your goals in a manner that it is understood, that people want to buy in and be a part of it. See, I already said from the introduction of Wayne's presentation that I want to be a part of that because he articulated something that sparked my interest. And that's what we want you to be able to do, to articulate your ideas in such a way that you spark the interest of investors so they want to buy into your company. So they want a piece of that $1 billion homegrown Jamaican company, that $1 billion company that comes out of Haiti or Vancouver or St. Catherine or St. Thomas. Wherever you are, we want you to be able to articulate your points in a manner that persons will say, yeah, that is the business I want to join. I have a little extra cash, or I'm an angel investor, or I'm a huge investor, and I want to invest in this business because I'm sold by the story you told. So it's about securing investment, but it's also about sharing your story. Interestingly, I saw a reel on Instagram just yesterday, and the reels, they did a comparison of persons who founders who had businesses and how many persons follow the founder's business page, and founders who had businesses and had their personal pages and how many persons follow that. And I guarantee you more people follow the personal pages because people crave that genuine story. It's not only about those pretty pictures that you put or the well planned out words that you put together. It's about who you are, who your story is. And persons look for that because we are all looking for a thread of commonality to say, oh, hold on, this person came from St. Thomas, humble beginning, and they start a $1 billion business. Maybe I can do this. It's about telling your story. It's an opportunity to secure investment by telling your story, but it also allows the founders to do a couple of things to achieve clarity on who your team members are, where you're really going. Because when you sit down and put a pitch together, it forces you to be able to say things. Because sometimes you type out some information, and when you type the information, it sounds good and look nice on paper. But when you start to articulate it, you realize that that's not necessarily connecting. So putting a pitch together actually forces you to articulate with your team what it is that you want to accomplish. And sometimes the business is going in this direction. And when you start to articulate what you want, you realize the real direction is another way. And that gives you that clarity. Uh, it's important to note that the investors are always looking for. It's like how you are looking for opportunity for your business to grow. Investors are equally looking for an opportunity for the next big thing. Airbnb was a very simple startup. I mean, I can list a whole heap of them, but the investors are looking for that next big startup, and we believe it's you, and we know it's you, and it's about your ability to articulate in a manner that appeals to your investor. So we're going to look at what your story is and how we can get that story from the why, the origin and the problem, to the how you got to finding solution, to the team that you put together, to the vision, and build that up to a climax. So if you're able to do that, you will be able to get your investors' attention. And let me just pause here to say, when you're telling your story and we're trying to build up to that climax, the truth is you might do a pitch at an investor forum and nobody don't take it on. But that might be the absolute best thing that you do, because you are at that point clarifying what your business is and how you're about to do it. So by the time you get to the next pitch, the next set of pitch decks might be 2 months away, might be 6 months away. You have build up that confidence, and you might even win a bigger investment from that. So each time you do this, it's an opportunity for you to clarify your story and for you to push forward and ensure that your pitch, your business is structured in a way that is understood. So we're going to look at the structure of the pitch, and it actually starts, every good pitch deck starts with what we would consider an elevator pitch. That that couple of seconds that you have running across the parking lot when you see Wayne Beecher across the parking lot. And you know Wayne Beecher is a billionaire because he has accomplished that. And you say, oh, that man invests in small business. And you run across there and you're able to, you realize he's busy, you're busy, and you're able to, in a couple of seconds, use clear, concise language to share with the potential investor in 60 seconds, in 90 seconds, what your business does. And that's the introduction. And when you will spend some time practicing getting that elevator pitch right, so you know from the get-go how to share in a very short time the structure of your business, what problem your business solve, and get that investor on board. So Mr. Beecher would say, this sounds like a good one. Let me take it back to the Founders Institute and talk to the guys. Give me your contact number and take my contact number. That elevator pitch is what gets you the foot in the door. And for the bigger pitch, this is your introduction to your pitch. We then look at the problem that you're solving, because every business needs to solve a problem, right? Your business has to be a problem solver. Here is, we give a simple description of what the problem is that your product solves. Your product is a new app that makes communication within your group, within smaller groups, more accessible. Your business is a snack that is a healthy alternative to the plethora of snacks that are out there. So you don't have to gain weight by snacking here. So your business solves a problem, and you are going to give a simple definition in this part of your pitch of what the problem is that your business solves. And next, we look at the product and the customer. So we recognize that there are persons here from all over the world, right? And a part of this global village that the internet has allowed us to to have is that there are people from all over the world, 7 billion people. Obviously, your business is not for all the 7 billion people. You want to narrow in on what your product is and who your customers are. What you have already identified the problem you're solving, but who are you building this product or this service for? Who are you solving the problem for? Is it for single mothers who are also working and study? Is it for the busy commuter who doesn't have the time to have a lunch? So you have that snack, that healthy alternative. You're on a diet, you don't want to gain any inches, but you're very busy. So here's the healthy snack that's for you. Right? So you define your product and you define who it is for. The next thing that you would want to look at in your pitch is the opportunity. Uh, Here is where sometimes it takes some work. Well, the whole lot takes some work, but this is where you really sit down and not only brainstorm, but you do some hard research here. Because sometimes we have some brilliant ideas. I've been there where I have some brilliant ideas and I'm like, yeah, man, this is the best thing. But does the opportunity really exist? And you look at the opportunity in terms of the TAM, total addressable markets. So you're looking at single mothers in Kingston, for example, in the Kingston metropolitan area, and that total market might be 150,000. This is just something from off the top of my head, and you are interested in capturing just one fifth or a third of that market. So you look at the entire opportunity that exists in terms of the whole market of persons that your product can solve a problem for, and you say, this is what I'm aiming for in terms of the total addressable market. I want the opportunity to solve problems for these set of people at the get go. In his introduction, Sir Beecher would have talked about scalable businesses, and that is something that we'll talk about at a later point. But right now, in the pitch, you are looking at where your starting point is and who your customers would actually be in that market. Business model. The business model can be: is it a mobile app? Is it a brick and mortar business? Is it what's the nature of your business model that solves the problem that we defined earlier? And most importantly, and investors looking for this. So sometimes as founders, we get really passionate about our story, we get passionate about the product, we get passionate about the problem we're solving, but it really comes down to this. It comes down to how will your business model, given the product, given the problem that you're solving with the product or service, how would your business model be profited? That's what it comes down to, because that is absolutely essential. Here we can show how it has been profitable, and we can look at best case scenarios. We can look at having models for testing the business, but you really need to dive down deep and figure out how, and share with your investors, potential investors, how your business can be profitable. This this one is the big one. So you think the business can be profitable, but have you done any work as yet? And if you haven't done any work as yet, where does the research indicate that you would get your customers from and be profitable? What really stands out, allows your pitch and your business to stand out for investors, is when you have traction, when you show that, hey, there's a total addressable market for 100,000 persons. I'm going for a smaller bit of the market, and I've already tested this, gave out free samples, and we've gained tractions from the free samples. 50%, 80% of the persons indicate that would be willing to buy that healthy snack. Or we've already put this in a few shops and supermarkets, and we got some calls after we've put them in the shops and supermarkets to say, hey, we've run out of supply and people want more. We've sold X amount of units. So being able to show against the addressable market what traction you have gained so far, really, this is where the ears of the investors perk up, because we can come up with models that show that there's profitability, but when you actually have done the work already and showed from a model that, hey, this can work, we just want some funding to get it bigger. We just want some funding to take it to the next level. That traction actually helps you to get to that point where your investors are interested. The slide is pink. I'm not getting into an agenda debate of what gender and what colors go together. A team is important. Let me just put on the educator cap for a bit. As a faculty member of UCC, there is one thing I'm usually cognizant from early on in any semester that I teach. And that's usually the students that's going to be successful. How you tell what students going to be successful and which students going to struggle through a course? The students trying to do it by themselves are the ones that usually struggle through the course. Several researches have been done in academia, in entrepreneurship, in life generally. People who work together, people who work in teams, people who work with collaboration are the ones who make. In our academic setting, we form groups and we say to the students, hey, outside of communicating with the lecturers, outside of the class sessions, we want you to talk to your group members. You're doing the assignment and you don't understand question number 3. Don't wake up the lecturer out in bed at 12 o'clock. Your counterpart, yes, the other students are actually up working on it. Say, hey, guys, I don't understand number 3. And you might hear, hey, I don't understand it either. Let's take this approach. So teamwork actually makes a dream work, and it is cliche and it's boring to say, but it is actually 100% accurate. A team is necessary. Um, Look here at the aspects of your team members that actually are the attributes of your team members that lend to furthering your business. So you might be the founder. It's your idea. You came up with this idea, couldn't sleep, came up with the idea, perfect solution to a problem. You find a group that it solves the problem for. You try it, and there's some traction. But you are a numbers guy, and when it comes to presenting, boy, you're going to stutter and you're going to stammer, and you've already taken a class in presentation skills and public speaking, and you're still stuttering and stammering. But there's a guy that works with you that is excellent at that kind of thing. That is the person you want to have on your team for a pitch competition, for a pitch event, or to share your pitch with potential investors. Or you might be the pitch guy, but when we're talking about tractions and building numbers, you don't. You get a headache trying to do that. Or you're not really good at reaching new customers via social media to get feedback on your product or service. There's a marketing guy for that. So know the particular attributes of persons. Know what your business need. You're gonna need the marketing guy. You're gonna need numbers guy. You're going to need the person who can articulate the plan and the position of the business vis-a-vis other businesses. So you need those key attributes. And very truth is very often not. One person does not embody all of those attributes. But let's say you like Wayne Beecher or Michael Gordon, you have all of those attributes. You're still one person, and you're still limited to a space, you're still limited to time, and sharing the responsibility to, hey, you guys, find out what's happening over Founders Institute while I work out the numbers over here and prepare for the pitch deck next week. So you divide the responsibilities and show your investors. This is very important. Your investors are looking to make sure that you're not a one-man team. What happens if, God forbid, you catch a nasty flu and you're out for 3, 4 days, or something worse that you're out for 2 weeks? That's the business downtime. But if you're a team and you're working together, then it works a little better. When you're doing your presentation, when you're doing your pitch, you want to make sure you're putting all of those slides, but you end big. The end of your presentation must be big. Make your presentation memorable. If we have a pitch deck competition, we're probably going to be seeing 100 pitches. We're probably seeing 10 pitches in an hour. Let yours be the one that we saw at 9 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock after seeing 100 others, we're like, hey, the 9 o'clock pitch day, that was happening. That was happening. And this is how you make your dream. Remember we said we build up to that climax where boom, this is the next big thing. The investors know that this is the next big thing. I see Sir Beach are ready to talk to you, but there are a few more slides I want to share quickly about how you would actually put the presentation together, and then I'll be done. So I'm a little above halfway through, so give me some time. I'm almost done, Sir Beach. All right. So we're looking at the structure of the pitch itself. And this is what we just talked about. The structure has the introduction. We look at the problem. We look at the customer and how the product relates to that customer, the business model, and how it lends itself to profitability, which is absolutely important. You've done your trial runs and you've gained some tractions. You want to show the traction and you want to show that it's not a one-man show. You have a team, you have people who have already bought into the dream and working with you to ensure that you become the homegrown billion-dollar company. So that's the basic structure of your presentation. And of course, you have the big finale, which is absolutely important to make your presentation, to make your pitch memorable. There are some slides that there are some guidelines for slides. Your slides are your tools, they're not your competition. So you want, when you're doing your slides, you should be seen, you should be able to articulate, the investors should be able to interact with you. Each slide supposed to have a main point. Don't make your slides complicated. Like you have a whole book. You have the whole. We talked about your story, having your story. You want to tell the whole of your story and throw that up on your slides. No, you want to embody the story. So even if your slides stop working, you're an embodiment of your story to the point where people listen to it. So the slide is like your backup artist, is your backup singer, but you are the main artist on stage. Um, Use pictures where possible to convey messages, because it's very good to convey messages using image. So if you have a product, show the product. If you have a product or service, show how your products and services are used, and show people being happy using your product and service. It's it is done by every single marketing company where you see people miserable having the problem, and on the other side you see people happy, satisfied using a product or service. It's done everywhere, and it should be done in shown in your slides. Minimize the number of words. It goes back to the idea about a single point. Because if you have too much words on your slide, then your audience, your investors are forced to either listen to you present or read the whole composition, the whole essay you have on your slide. And when we pull somebody's attention like that, they tend to just zone because attention span is actually very short. Use quotations and questions. Avoid text and image clash. So you don't want to have the image. We said images are good, right? So you don't want to have the image on the slide and a bag of text, or the image on a slide and the persons are like, oh, the image and the slide don't match up. A simple thing. This says 8 tips, and you see that we're at number 5. So it's easy to follow. Um, Use large fonts that's easy to read, just like we're doing here, and not the small fonts where people have to squinch up and try to figure out what is being shared there. Because when that happens, again, that pulls apart their attention. And when you pull apart their attention, you work hard to get their attention, and when you pull that apart, then you lose the potential investors' attention. And again, remember, we're doing this where the potential investor would be listening to a number of pitches, so you don't want to lose the attention. Important text you place at the top of the slides at all times, usually followed by very sparse amount of text or images following. But you want your slides to, as we said in the first tip, you want your slides to actually have very sparse information that is main points and main points only. So your traction slide, show a graph of how you've moved in the past 6 months, how you've gained traction. your problem and your solution is very clear on the slides where you're showing that. Avoid graphs that have too much information and graphs that compare too much information that you put in your business plan later after you win the pitch and you're sharing the details that you put there. But for this place now where you're just trying to make sure that they say, yes, this is the next big thing, you want to avoid that and keep it as simple as possible. It goes without saying, ladies and gentlemen, that when you are doing any kind of presentation, particularly when you're doing a presentation of your pitch for your personal, for your business, it's important to practice. And again, we'll go back to the whole working with the team. Practice with the team, clarify, and it is actually amazing. I've worked with teams before where we get to the point of practice. You know, you do you word out your pitch deck and you work on your slides and you bring it together. And here we are practicing like a night before we actually have a pitch competition. And one of the key members of the team said, I never know that's what we're doing. And people were like, huh? You've been in the business from the inception. You were here. Oh, you not know. And it really means we had to go back to the drawing board to say, okay, this is what we're doing and this is how we articulate it. Because sometimes you articulate something out in a particular way in the practice that suggests a slight slant from what your actual business is. So the more you practice with persons, and usually I suggest that you practice with some timing device so you can get there's usually an allocated time. So you want to make sure that your pitch fits within that allocated time. But practice, 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 practice to the point where, especially like your introduction and the elevator pitch, you want to practice that to the point where somebody will wake you up out of your sleep. You can just roll off. Oh, this is the business I'm in. This is the audience I cater to, and this is how we have solved that problem, the problem that this audience has. You want to be able to say those three things about your business without even thinking about it. Just like if someone would ask you, "What's your name? What's your age? Where do you live?" You don't really have to think too much about that. You know your name. You know your first, middle, and last name. You know your age. So that's how you should know your business. You should practice your pitch so much that even when you stand in front of the investors and you're like, oh my goodness, I did not know the billionaires were gonna be here. You start to get nervous because you know the material so well, you can share with confidence. Your pitch presentation has a couple of things. You want to, as we just said, begin with passion and enthusiasm. You might be nervous, but nobody has to know. Ladies and gentlemen, good day. I am Gary McKenzie, and I'm here to share with you the importance of drinking from a bottle like this because this is the newest innovation. Something like that. You want to start off with that enthusiasm. So the investors that have been listening to pitches like the whole day, they're like, this guy is passionate about his thing. You project your voice. You smile. At least it doesn't have to be a smile. You want to have a pleasant demeanor when you're sharing. Because if you look like you want to frown down the place, yeah, people might be a little turned off. You want don't not to smile too much because that is scary. Unlike what I'm doing now, you want to speak in a way that you enunciate and share your information, even though you might be passionate about what you're saying. You must be heard because when you start to speak really fast, and a lot of us do this when we're nervous, we start to speak really fast. And I like to tell you about my business because this is my passionate story. I started this business from when I was 6. You might not believe it, but I started this business from when I was 6 when I learned to cook with my grandmother. And because my grandmother was such a part of my life, and he started to tell his story and he started to talk for us, and people lose interest because they can't follow. So you want to be able to speak in a manner that people can actually follow, still feel the passion, but follow. So you speak clearly, you speak with cadence, and when you have to stand and move, it's not. in a jerky, I'm scared kind of way, but you do so naturally. Some of the things you want to avoid in your pitch. So we've talked about all the things that you want to include in your pitch, but there are some things you want to avoid. And these are common mistakes that we see in presentation, in pitch presentations, and we want you to be able to avoid them. Um, if you leave out the description of your problem, what problem are you solving? That's gonna be an issue. You shouldn't get to the end of the pitch and the investor goes, I have a question, I see the attraction, but I'm not really sure what problem you're solving. You want to ensure that that is there. You don't want to use too much jargon unless you know that your investors are engineers. All of your investors are engineers, and maybe. But to be on the safe side, leave out the technical terms. Keep it simple because I might see a good idea that is medical business or an engineering business, but because you use all of these terms that I don't understand, you've lost me. You have an excellent idea, but you've made it a little too technical, and I understand the money part of it, but you've lost me in the jargon. So I want to leave that out. You also want to leave out any exaggeration, and we tend to like the idea of exaggeration. Let's push this up, man. Let's push up. All right. So we sold in our little trial run we sold 100 units. Let's push it up and say we sold 500 units. We want to avoid that because you need to show the follow through. You need to show the profit that you've made from selling the 500 units. And if you're not able to do that, then you're called a liar. And an investor don't want to put money into businesses, even the best of businesses, if they can't trust the founders. Excuse me. So you want to avoid that. You also want to usually ideal situation, and I had a setup earlier and I had it wasn't working. Ideal situation is for your slides to be behind you in a space where your investor is seeing you forefront. And remember, I say your slides are like your backup singers and you are the main artist. The slides are behind you. Ideally, you don't want to be looking around at your slides to say, where am I? You want to present, and then your slides back you up. Right? The screen versus presenter disease, where there's too much happening on the screen, too much happening with the presenter, and again, split the audience attention and you lose everything. So you want to avoid that. You don't put unnecessary slides in your presentation. Complex graphs, as I said, those complex graphs might be pivotal to how your business model works and how you have an advantage in the market. But leave those complex graphs to the business plan that you will share at the end. That's not for the pitch presentation. That's for another thing. Okay, so leave out the unnecessary slides, the complex graph, and this is a pet peeve of mine. There are times videos work and they work perfectly. But this is me, Gary St. Patrick Mackenzie. This is my pet peeve. Just tell everybody the whole of my name. The challenge I've had with presenting videos in my presentations, unless they're like GIFs that, just run by themselves, videos can make presentation a little clunky and cumbersome. And a whole heap of times they don't play, and then they play and the sound don't play, and then you lose their attention. So everything you do in your pitch presentation is to one, grab that attention. And once you've grabbed that attention, you keep that attention with the end goal in mind that I'm going to convince these investors that our business is the winning business that's being pitched here today. And videos tend to be clunky. So if you can avoid them, if you cannot, just work because those automatically run. And you can do the voice and you can share the information unless your video is one that is showing, demonstrating a product or a technical aspect of your service or product. I would avoid those. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a mouthful. It's a lot, but remember that we begin with confidence. and we begin it with confidence to share what is already ours. If someone asks you your name, if somebody asks you which school you went to, if somebody asks you about basic things about yourself because you know yourself, you're able to share those things. And sometimes we win friends, and sometimes we are able to influence others, and sometimes we are able to get ahead because we're able to share who we are. That's the same thing that we aim to do here. We aim to share our businesses, and but we have to own it first, which is why we practice so much. Which is why we talk about it so much. You have to own it first. When you own it, somebody wake you up in the middle of the night and say, "What's your name?" I'm Gary McKenzie. Been saying that for umpteens of years. I know it with every fiber of my being that that is who I am, and that is how you need to know your business with every fiber of your being, and being able to share. It's not necessarily going to happen the first time you share it, but being able to share what your business does, what problem it solves, who your team is, and you're working with these persons. You're working with Michael Gordon and Wayne Beecher and Tennille Hussey. You're working with Founders Institute, for good's sake. Yeah. So that is where you're able to share that information without any itches, and that's why we have these workshops so you can learn to do that. And when you're able to do that, that's when you get to the point of being able to share your story with confidence and secure investments from doing so. I look forward to hearing your pitches in a little bit, but at this point, I will hand over to the billionaire in waiting, Wayne Beecher.
Thank you very
The
much,
floor is
Gary. That
yours.
was great. Thank you so much. So what we're gonna do at
Yeah.
this stage, we're gonna allow for one or two questions if anybody have any burning questions. But what is important now is that we get an indication of the persons who want to pitch their ideas. And so what I'm gonna want you to do is to put it in a Q&A, not in the chat, but in a Q&A, and Michael and Tennille will do a sorting to select no more than three pitches for tonight. You'll have 5 minutes to pitch, and then Gary and I will do a critique for another 5 minutes before we move on to the other um, participants. Yeah, so that's how we're gonna play it this afternoon. So, as we introduced before, we're Fairness Institute Jamaica, the local chapter of a global incubator accelerator. As a matter of fact, it's the largest pre-seed accelerator globally. It was founded by this gentleman, Adi Orisi, who has a passion for impact, like all of the local founders here, because we're doing this as volunteer because we're open to create an impact using entrepreneurship as our tool of choice. And his mission, or his underlying core philosophy that led him to create this global movement is based on a premise that there are no shortage of problems facing humanity. What is missing is a shortage of ambitious entrepreneur that is seeking to solve them. And those persons we consider impact entrepreneurs. So since 2009, Founders Institute has been around and this has been its impact. They have facilitated over 4,500 plus startups across 90 different countries. They're coming into a global network and they've generated or able to create over 25,000 new jobs. What do you get when you join the Founders Institute family? You will get a learning experience unlike what you have now in our local colleges and universities. It is really an experiential based learning curriculum that is curated. It spans 14 weeks and it's organized around project oriented sprints that's delivered on a weekly basis. The curriculum was built and designed based on a proven system for creating successful entrepreneurs, and it has evolved the learning methodology, the business development methodology, and the technology supporting businesses has evolved over the years. even just this month, February, what a revision of the curriculum to even sharpen it a bit more to make it more relevant to high-paced entrepreneurs. It's a highly structured and curated curriculum that gives you gives you access to the latest in business development, but it also forces you to respond to a number of assignments that we call sprints, and you'll be given support to complete the sprints because of mentors assigned for each area of interest that we're focusing for that week. And we have office hours open with the local leaders and some mentors as well to actually help to complete the sprints. The program is ideally targeted at three archetypes of latent entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. The first is the kind of entrepreneur that is at the idea stage. So you have an idea for the business and you want to bring that idea to market. That's what we call pre-seed. I'll call it the idea stage or the launch stage. Then we're looking at a small entrepreneurial venture that might have launched, and they have now come up with a minimum viable product, which is the basic approach that they need to take to the market to test it, to get validation. And then there are SMEs that are small businesses that are already in execution, but they now want to level up their business. I will put those persons on the growth track. Each week in the Founders Institute um, program, you have to be pitching. Each weekly sprint session have what we call a hot seat, something like what we'll simulate this afternoon. And so you will always be pitching. But depending on the track that you're in, we're looking for different metrics to, that you're going to elaborate on because Gary spoke about traction. So we're always looking for traction. If you're in a growth track, you should be acquiring customers and your month on month customer growth and revenue recurring growth should be heading, up and to the right. For the launch track, we look at, a lot of experimental and testing data to see that you're actually gaining insights into the customer and that your product fit the challenge or the problem that you're trying to solve. Once you finish the 14 weeks program, though, we're not done with you. You actually brought into an ecosystem of support to give you the post program or the post accelerator support to take your business to the next level. And this is where the program distinguishes itself from other local incubators because you'll be doing the Founders Institute core program that I just described. But following that, you're going to Founders Lab, and that's free for persons who have completed the core program. And Founder Institute is an intense 6 weeks program that prepare you now to meet, present to serious investors who have an interest in your business. And there's the venture network, which actually puts your pitch deck, once you're fine-tuned it to the point where we think it's investable, to a network of investors who are also part of the FI ecosystem. Talking about ecosystem building, we not only create entrepreneurs that are world class who actually support the ecosystem players, the ecosystem enablers to help to support you after. So what you will find is that most of the mentors are local mentors in the core program. When you get to Founder Lab, some of the mentors will be Silicon based or global mentors from our global network because we're trying to get you to give you access to new markets and to new investment windows. Also within the ecosystem of Founders Institute is what we call a venture capital lab. And that's a program where it's a free program where the Founder Institute founders and some of their alumni actually come back and become investors into the startups that are being accelerated. And they prepare them to become impact venture capitalists, venture capitalists that actually, care about startups and want to invest in early stage venture because they understand the risk and now they also understand the reward and the impact that it can emanate. A lot of you, if you ever tried the fundraising locally, know it is not easy because of the investors that we have are not fully educated on what a venture capital financial vehicle should look like and what it should do and how it should operate. So our persons operating at a very high level and not enough persons or funds dedicated at creating early stage ventures that can go on to become world class. The support doesn't stop with our global partners, but also a number of local partners that are part of our ecosystem that support ventures either through a co-founding the hub, either through consulting from Blackwall, or my venture studio takes the best of the best and prepare them to grow into global businesses so that they can achieve that $1 billion valuation. To our AI partners in Starp Analytics and our funding partners like Richwell Fund and the fund that Michael Gord is actually launching soon. But it doesn't stop there. If you're a technology-driven business, we have a number of perks because bundled within your initial fee are access to discounted and free technology platform that you can use to grow or scale your business. So, the Google Cloud platform, which is similar to AWS, Stripe for your payment, Dell for computing, storage, and infrastructure, HubSpot for your CRM, for automated CRM support. But I must tell you, it sounds very good so far, but I must give you a caveat and some conditionality. Entrepreneurship is not easy. Um, I'm an entrepreneur, so I live this and I know it. So the program will test you in terms of the rigor through which it puts you. You have these 14 weeks of intense sprints that you have to complete on a weekly basis, working with your team, working with your group, and going out there to do research. And then most importantly, speaking to customers to update your business model and to update your pitch deck and to have your pitch deck refined each week to become prepared to deliver a world-class pitch in 3 minutes. So it's not easy. You have to be prepared to dedicate the time needed to work on your business over this period. And so we say entrepreneurs need not apply, but we want the entrepreneurs if they're willing to become entrepreneurs. So the next program will actually be starting in June of this year. Early deadline is next month, the 17th of next month, where you get a discount on the entry fee. And the final deadline for submission for this cohort is on May 19th. So that's basically it. I'll stop there. I'll leave the contact information. And thank you for all the participants who were brave enough to do a pitch. Thank you very much, Gary, for spending the last 2 hours with us, for your presentation and for reviewing and critiquing and evaluating the pitch. We have a few more persons who wanted to pitch, but we're out of time. We have a cutoff at 8 o'clock. And so we have to honor that. But for persons who still want to make the pitch, you can come to the other Founders Institute events, and we'll have another hot seat for persons to make their pitches. So if you didn't get to pitch tonight, you can. We'll have an event coming up next month. You'll be able to make your pitch. Just watch out for the notice and the invitation to register for that event. I just want to say thank you very much for spending the time with us. I enjoyed the pitches. And this is just a sneak preview as to what you can expect when you join the Founders Institute Accelerator Program coming up in June. Because we're doing a lot of this, and it'll help you to refine your pitches so you can get to a 5, and more importantly, get to an investment decision or investment consideration from potential funders. So that being said, I know Gary is willing to entertain further questions. He has left his contact in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to him, reach out to any one of the local leaders, and be willing to entertain a further conversation about building your pitch and building your business. So thank you very much and have a good night.